Door intro. There's a lot of videos that I've wanted to talk about in the last couple of days, but every time I go to record, I'm just kind of like, Like, I wanted to talk about One Punch Man Season 3, because it's an interesting drama, to say the least. Then there's, like, the whole situation of, like, recent arguments between content creators and politicizing and weaponizing and arguments and some other kind of philosophical kind of stuff. Also, fun fact, you haven't noticed, yes, there's been delays on getting stuff sorted out because my cat's bladder infection came back, but this thing is taller than me. It's all the way up to here, which is like, hello. This thing will collapse on me at some point, but we will get there. Mark my words. It kills me every day a little bit inside that I cannot unbox those things. So I will get there at some point of unboxing those figures. But it's just one of those where every time I'm about to actually start getting the room ready, something delays it. So it's just irritating. Irritating. But I wanted to do a video on Monta Sensei's one of his recent videos over the last couple of days, talking about a particular anime that has got an announcement, and I talked about it in my past video, so I kind of want to see what his opinions are. But I just thought it was really interesting looking at that whole drama, because all the people that were kind of hating on it were basically like Yuri fans that hated straight ships, and I've seen people try to claim that actually the reason why they didn't like it was because he was bland. Well, sorry, no, she was like too like sexualized, and I'm like. And then they turn around and say, well, actually, she isn't, but that's what they complain about. I'm like, no, most people that I've seen complain about it is just mad that it's a straight shit for some reason. And I'm like, I don't know. It just feels like an absolute chaotic mess. So, wanted to watch it, see what his opinions are, and yeah. And I'll make sure the volume's good.
Shonen rom-coms obsession with pairing up an average loser with a tall, pretty girl instead of making both attractive needs to be studied. Where to this user, it's a mystery to her why this is appealing, while to me it's obvious. This is how most guys feel. This is the average guy's experience. Overlooked, forgotten, invisible to the average girl, making them insecure, nervous, socially anxious. To where this scenario of this anime plot is like a fantasy and some type of escapism. It's no surprise that currently...
It's true. It's very true. I mean, especially in this day and age where men just kind of get trotted on and treated like they're just ATMs, which is just kind of annoying because like I don't think every woman thinks this way, but when you go to social media and you go to mainstream media, the constant barrage and hating on men and being like, no, men are this, and this, and this, and they have to do these things and have this body type. I got a friend that has a nephew and he's so obsessed about his height. Like, he's like, oh, but I have to be this height. And I said to him one day, I was like, why are you so obsessed about your height? And he's like, oh, well, it's a big thing in high school. Because if you're not tall enough, you get picked on. And I'm like, okay, so you're getting picked on for something that you can't help. It's like, it reminds me a lot of high school when I was in high school, because I was quite thin, much thinner than this. And my metabolism was just absolute crazy. And it was just hard for me to actually gain weight, no matter how much I ate. And people would just pick on you for it. Like, people look for reasons to pick. And I think when you look at mainstream media and you look at this modern day and age of social media, everything's about outrage culture and trying to beat other people down rather than all lifting each other up. And so you see one of the biggest things that do get attention is like hating men. And so you imagine how men feel in this day and age, constantly seen on social media that they're like less than garbage and you have to do all these insane things to be able to have even the idea of someone actually finding you attractive. And it's like the only reason why they find you attractive is because of your bank balance, not because of who you are. It's like, this is like a fantasy. This is perfect for them. This is the perfect escape to be able to be, just a plain simple guy and have this beautiful, nice, kind, energetic girl fall in love with you. Like, that is the perfect peak male romance fantasy right there. It's just pure romance. which is ironic because then you see all the weird wacky stuff all the chicks are sitting there fantasizing about, and it's like, and then they criticize us for, you know, some of the basic things that we like, and it's just like, again, you know, we shouldn't be shaming each other for our kicks, but it's like, compared to most men just want something so simple and pure, and yet they get shamed for it, and yet you got chicks out there that are like, bestiality, oh, that's amazing. It's like, there's an article I read only a couple of months ago that honestly blew my mind. Don't really want to bring it up, but it's in that lines of that kind of thing, and how apparently there was like some DNA kind of stuff pointing out that, yeah,
men are going through a crisis, dealing with a loneliness epidemic, opting out of society, choosing not to participate, told their innate masculinity is toxic, and just by their mere existence they serve as a poison to society, like it's an original sin by just being born male.
This isn't a pre-watch. I feel like I say something and then he says it. But it's true, and I think that's the reason why I said it and then he said it. It's because it is a common feeling amongst men that we're invisible, that we're expected to do unrealistic things and have unrealistic body standards, but then if you want something similar in what you're being expected to, then suddenly it's, oh, you're the problem. It's like chicks that are like sitting there going, oh yeah, I want a guy with this massive bank balance and he has to be absolutely ripped and fit and all the rest. And then it's like a guy's just like, hey, I don't want a chick that looks like a refrigerator or has her own area code. And then suddenly it's like, oh my God, he's misogynist. It's just like the double standards. And this is why I think a lot of men are disconnecting from this ability to communicate. Because it's not that they can't, it's just that they won't. And I pointed out, it was only a couple of weeks ago, there was a VTuber that was like belittling some guy for just flirting with her at a supermarket. And it was like the most harmless flirting out there. Like the most harmless. It was just like, you know, she was at the checkout, he said something sweet, something nice. Wasn't really, like the way she put it was like really harmless. But then she just like belittled him and went, oh yeah, it was disgusting. And I'm just like, you couldn't even frame it in a bad way. Like, you had to try and, like, really, like, try and stretch it. And even then, it looked harmless. And all their fans in the comments go, yeah, what a loser. And I'm like, most of you would be that guy being laughed at. And that's the thing. Like, guys are now just too scared to communicate with chicks because every time we do, it's on social media. Like, all these chicks in the gyms constantly recording to the point where gyms are now just banning recording, period. Which, to be honest, I think should be an absolute thing. I think if you're going to, like some type of gym location that's just public, recording should be banned, period. There's security cameras in there. You don't need to have recording for your own safety unless you're just trying to be an obnoxious influencer. It's like, you know, sometimes it's good to have recording there just in case something bad goes on, but it's like, again, this is where people ruin good things because shaming men has just become the normal culture now.
Rarely ever hearing an encouraging word in their life. So when reality is demoralizing, it's only natural they turn to fiction, hoping to find some rewarding narrative, any medium that doesn't 24/7 demonize them where they can live out their desired fantasy. Play as a character they aspire to be, or watch on screen a character that makes them want to be more. But what happens when even those become corrupted? Male cater to franchises co-opted
I actually just saw a tweet about that, so it's kind of funny that one gets brought up.
By activists to be more feminized, because by current day standards, anything that's male dominated is seen as inherently evil.
And by the way, the women are always saving the men around here. You might want to think about changing the name to ex-women.
It's like men just...
She's one of the most obnoxious actors out there. I just feel like most of like Hollywood is just like the same like 15, 20 actors, and they're all just, as long as you have the correct political thinking, you get all the jobs in Hollywood. It's like the same as many content creators. If you have the correct political thinking, you get all the interviews with all the big, you know, voice actors and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, that's how you know who's politically captured. Is all you have to do is look at the content creator and see who they get to interview and associate with, and you're like, yep.
Aren't allowed to be themselves and have nice things that's overtly oriented towards men's interests. Whether it's video games or movies that are known for having a male lead are now sidelined by the girl boss that Hollywood is so fixated, persistent on.
Which is funny because Hollywood is absolutely losing money by the bucket loads because if you continuously beat down and insult men, they're just going to abandon it and stop watching it. And then they get insulted for not watching a show that's about mocking and belittling them. And that's just the peak irony from these individuals, is that you're being told that your spaces should be invaded by other people that hate you, then change to something that's about messaging that's about hating you. And then when you walk away and go do something else and find your own new space, they then attack you and go, oh, well, you're misogynist. It's just like, this is what I mean about mainstream media and social media, is that it is this constant berating and attacking men. And it's also just building a new culture of what I call cut culture, where there are men that are on board with this because they think that they're going to get laid. And I know this is to be true because I had a friend who was very heavily in this mindset of like cut culture, where he was like constantly attacking men, constantly trying to belittle himself so that he thought he could get laid. And this guy, by the way, saw women as objects to his pleasure, but he was trying to please a group of women that hated him because he wanted to get laid. He was the most like toxic douchebag out there. I don't know why I stayed friends with him for so long, but I mean, he was kind of very different. But then as time went on, his mask kind of came off, and I spent many years studying with him, so I kind of had to spend like a lot of time in the same room with him studying IT. But it was that constant like belittlement. And I remember when Goblin Slayer season 1 came out, he was going on about how that needed to be censored because, oh, our scene is really bad, and oh, well, they could put something worse in there. And I remember I was in the shops with him, and I turned to him and I said, what's worse than that? And he just looked at me and went, oh, no. And I'm like, exactly, shut up. And he went quiet for the rest of the day, because it was like that whole mindset of like, he doesn't even believe in what he says. He just goes along with it because it gets him the brownie points. But again, he's not going to get laid from it, which makes him just angry and bitter.
Shoving down the audience's throats to overshadow typical male franchises.
The power of many.
And when these properties fail miserably or just don't do as well compared to before, the same audience of men they so proudly call toxic are now the ones to blame for not showing up and now...
I didn't pre-watch this, okay? I didn't pre-watch this. It's the same trend of... It's because it is so obvious. Everyone knows it. That's the thing. It's like pointing out the obvious.
Labeled as sexist, or any other word that's trendy nowadays. The prime example of this is Star Wars, perfectly demonstrating the hero's journey, something that naturally, innately speaks to men that call to adventure, to want to be more, be the hero, something that so many seek out in video games. So when all of these Western properties that were damn near guaranteed successes get sucked up of any fun, genuine interest, turn inside out and are now unrecognizable, it's no surprise that they may go elsewhere, hence why anime has become so popular, a medium that is famous for catering to many tastes of stories. It doesn't matter what's your flavor, best believe there is a story or genre that will serve your interests and not shame you for it. And when it comes to males, shonen and seinen mainly fulfill that desire of storytelling that the West has completely forgotten. The hero's journey is a staple of storytelling that is still cherished and valued, that males can look forward to as an example of how to be. Stoicism is something that's upheld rather than frowned upon. Masculinity is something to be celebrated, not demonized and made to be synonymous with Satan or something. It's almost like these authors or mangakas have an appreciation for their male audience.
Think about that.
Rather than a hatred, throw it in your face, ha ha, I destroy.
And I think that's why they're trying to invade that space so desperately, is because they realize that this space is, you know, the actual art, or the artists, the authors, the writers and all that are making a story that they themselves enjoy, but also the audience also enjoys, and there's like a proper like relationship between the consumer and the creator. While you look at the Western audience, it's not... The audience doesn't even consume it anymore. It's something that I said in my last video, I think, and also in a tweet, where the very same people that are actively calling for these changes don't even consume the very media that they're actively calling to change. Like, you know, they go into a space, they say, for example, Star Wars, they go in there, they demand all these changes, oh, we need all this inclusivity and all these special rainbow flags and all the rest in there. They force all that stuff in there. The main audience that was consuming it goes, okay, this isn't what I wanted to watch, this isn't what I like, I'm going to go elsewhere. They then attack them, but the very people that demanded those changes don't then consume it. They actively called for these changes, saying it would make it better, but then they don't consume it. It's why you see games like World of Warcraft kind of slowly fizzle out, and you say, yeah, but it's doing strong and it's making more money. Yeah, because it milks more and more and more money from dumbasses and nostalgia. And that's the only thing really keeping a lot of these franchises alive, is not that the content is good, but because of the nostalgia and the fact that a lot of people have invested interest in them. So that's why there's that constant still push to keep it alive. And especially in the content creator space, that's another whole issue as well, as many content creators will defend things even though they hate it, because their entire livelihood is built around that entire media. There are many content creators that will defend some of the dumbest things out there because they need to keep that audience coming back for more. And so I think this is why we have such a toxic ecosystem, because you look at a multitude of these factors. But again, the very people that are actively calling for these changes don't really consume these things. But then they attack the people that were consuming that and move on because, well, it changed into something they don't want. It's a free market, and yet they get angry at the free market. And then rather than making something original themselves, they've got to hijack something and destroy it from within, because they know the moment they make something original, no one's going to consume it. High Guardian Spice, that was an original series done by Crunchyroll. Absolutely flopped. Why? Because it was just dismally bad. And instead they infest other mediums, other communities, other franchises, and destroy it within. Because the only thing keeping it alive is the nostalgia and the loyalty.
What's your favorite franchise? But if it's one thing that activists hate, is when people have preferences and have options to choose from. So like the parasites they are now flocking to a new host, doing their best to corrupt Japanese Eastern media as a whole, not just anime or manga. And one tactic that is first done is to look down and frown upon whatever is serving mainly a male interests, like how this article does here. When it comes to anime, there's no genre, or more accurately, no demographic more popular than shonen, to the point that it almost feels egregious. That's a bit of a stretch in my opinion. It should only take watching a handful of shonen anime before the genre's flaws begin to emerge. Certainly among the most popular series, shonen suffers from a lack of well-written female characters, either in lead roles or even supporting.
Which is funny, because there are heaps of strong female characters in different shows, like shonen ones. Like, constantly I see Fairy Tail constantly being brought up as one of those where it's like, there's no strong female characters in Fairy Tail, and I'm like, bro, have you watched Fairy Tail? There are so many strong female characters. The reason why they say there's no strong female character in Fairy Tail is because they're not got their own gravitational pull, and they don't look like a blimp. They just don't look ugly. They're like, oh no, strong female characters have to look ugly. And it's just like, no. No chick sits there and gets excited about a strong female character that looks like they've been run over by a lawnmower. No.
Positions. Now, this is a criticism I find.
And I know that for experience, because I know many chicks that are into anime, manga, light novels, and trust me, the last thing they want to do is look at an ugly chick in a story that's meant to be strong and go, oh yes, that represents me. Thanks, you're calling me ugly.
And it's very popular amongst journalists. You would think they're all part of the same group text bubble, having the same NPC talking points spewed out in many articles from different outlets. 10 anime girls who deserve so much better than they got. The way female characters in media are handled is always divisive, and anime is no exception. Like many stories, anime have a tendency to ignore their female characters in favor of the male characters, all of which is disappointing for anyone who ends up getting attached to them as they watch a certain show.
I do think it's funny because a lot of these activists, they go into mediums that are made for males and then complain that they're made for males, but they won't go into mediums that are made for females, because there's plenty of shows, animes, mangas, light novels, etc., that are made specifically for chicks, but because they're not mainstream popular, they complain and go, well, these shows that are mainstream have to be made for us. And it's like, yes, but the reason why they are mainstream and popular is because, yes, the vast majority of the anime community is male. Because a lot of chicks either don't like anime, or they have this shame culture going on still within their own community. Because let's be honest here, this is experience that I've had chicks tell me in my own community, you know, that I know in real life. They always tell me that the people that shame them the most for liking anime is other chicks. Other dudes don't shame them for liking anime. Guys welcome them in And they've told me that. I do. I welcome them all in. But the people that shame them the most for liking anime, manga, and light novels and games is other chicks. Like, chicks are chicks' worst enemies when it comes to this kind of stuff. Which is why they generally are a lot more quieted about it. But also, again, going into this kind of conversation, a lot of chicks also like this kind of stuff as well. They're interested, and they you look at Dan Ladan. I know a couple of female cosplayers locally that cosplay the female protagonist from Dan Ladan, right? They love those characters. They enjoy those characters. People say that story is mainly a female protagonist. I disagree. I think there are two main protagonists in that story, male and female, and there's a love interest, but a lot of people try and claim it's only one protagonist. A show can have more than one main protagonist, but it's one of those where it's like, yeah, there are many shows. Fairy Tail, it's a great example. I see so many chicks that cosplay as the Fairy Tail characters because it's a wide cast. Yeah, it's focused a lot on Natsu and Happy, but a lot of the other casts get their own moments to shine. They get their own story arcs. They get their own world, like character building, world building, and all these different types of things going on. These shows do give representation to a lot of people. It's just these activists want it to be all about them, and they want their self-insert. But that then comes with the clause of these characters have to be obnoxious, like they need to demoralize and attack men and bring them down, and need to be ugly. That's the thing. They don't have. That's why I find this kind of conversation really funny, because they say, oh, there's no female representation in these shows, but there is. The problem is not the female representation. It's really the fact that they want these shows to be about beating men down, belittling them, elevating them above men, and then making it this weird sort of, again, political statement about the patriarchy, which then just turns everyone normal off from the show. And then they complain. People just want good storytelling, but that's not allowed. But you also have the fact that a lot of these activists go into a story made specifically for men and then complain that it's specifically made for men. It's that kind of hilarious component. And then, as I said, you show them, oh, well, look at all these stories specifically made for chicks, and they go, yeah, I don't care about them because, oh, they're not mainstream and they're not more popular than the other stuff. And it's just like, why do you care? It's all about clout. It's all about high school popularity contests. And I remember there was a cosplayer that had a clip where she was complaining about shows like SAO and all this, and she was complaining about like, oh, well, there's no shows that are what I like. And when she was on Twitter or X, we gave her a full list of all the types of shows that she would like that fit exactly into her very, very, very picky category. She then complained, made it more pickier, so we refined the list and still kept a massive number of them. And then it's finally when the mask came off and said, I don't care, they have to be mainstream. So it had nothing to do with actually representation. It had to do with that they wanted their shows to be mainstream above other shows, and then to beat down the male-dominated. That's what it's all about. It's high school petty behavior. And that's is why so many of us are vocal against this.
Female characters have a long history of being wasted in anime. Wow. Wow. Okay. This is going to be a little bit hard to get through. But sometimes it's far worse than simply a lack of focus. Between things like little to no character development, really, and character arcs that actively make them worse. Wow. Many female characters in anime are made some of the worst characters in their shows, even though they had plenty of potential to be some of the best. Gachi Akuda is fixing everything wrong with female characters in anime. The argument that female characters are never given a fair chance has been a long-running debate for years.
When?
My Hero Academia is criticized for not properly utilizing its female cast, and the women in Solo Leveling don't have much significance beyond being related to.
Well, Solo Leveling is really about one dude. Like, that's literally Solo Leveling is solo leveling. Like, it's kind of in the title. It's about a guy just doing his own thing. Like, to say solo, and this is what I mean. They're going into a show that is designed specifically for a specific audience, designed in a specific structure, and then complaining that it's that. It's like, okay, then don't watch it. Go watch. No, everything has to be made for me because I've got an ego and the world evolves around me. Blah blah blah. Narcissism. Everything has to be made for them. There are plenty of shows that cater to your exact desires. You don't watch them because, again, they're not mainstream.
Or crushing on Sung Jinwoo. Yeah, God forbid women have a crush on the male lead. The issue in the industry is that the quality
Didn't you know all chicks have to be lesbians?
and depth of main heroines are rarely ever extended to the female side characters of other anime, especially the shonen subgenre. Female supporting characters in anime are often either love interests, friends with little impact on the story, or are given potential that is never truly fulfilled. Now, without going any further, I hope you see a pattern here of talking points that I could honestly continue for the next 30 minutes, but I'll save you that time. And I'm sure many fans could easily debunk this claim that women are overlooked in anime.
Yup!
Hell, even
It's not hard to debunk when you just go through all the different shows out there that have strong female characters. But again, they ignore them. Because it's all a popularity contest.
in this article, they admit there are great anime that gives light to female leads, but I have noticed one thing. They all share this criticism within the realm of shonen. It's like they forgot what the purpose of shonen.
Exactly! It's because shonen is very popular amongst men, so they want to invade a male-dominated space and then go, no, this can't be made for men, this has to be made for someone else. And it's like, it's literally got the tag for it's made for men. What? Go. I'm going to repeat myself.
Is and what it's meant to do, which is to cater to a male demographic.
Dumbass.
I wouldn't even label this lack of acknowledgement as something stupid, but really more nefarious or diabolical in some way. Like they're trying to subvert what shonen was intended for by playing stupid. Like, I wonder why shonen prioritizes male leads and focuses more on the male protagonist and his character development. Or another thing they despise is the damsel in distress narrative. Like, why does the woman have to be saved, making the man the savior, reducing a woman's role to a love interest, when that's something that men aspire to be, the hero and savior to the woman we love. It inspires us to be more, which is why it's something we automatically connect with when watching it on screen, and we can't help but cheer on the male character when viewing. As stated earlier, they view this as a flaw and not a feature of shonen. That's like me saying gay romance stories within yuri or yaoi are flawed for not putting more focus on straight heterosexual.
See, if you said that, you get a lot of hate for saying that, and that's the thing. They can go into us. And that's the problem. They go into a straight ship type story and then complain that it's a straight ship type story and go, oh no, it was something that I was saying to my friend the other day, because I've been playing Nikkei a lot and I've been going through the story, and I said to him, if I went through X in some parts of the community, I would have thought that Nikkei was a story about a bunch of chicks trying to get it on with each other. I played the game and it's literally a bunch of chicks that want to get rid of the commander. It's literally a running joke that one of the main characters, if you don't know the game, one of the main units that you use in the story constantly makes remarks about you being basically this like charmer that constantly charms like all these chicks. One of the characters that you interact with calls you cutie. Like, it's like this, it's a glorified harem of like robotic chicks, cybernetic human chicks type thing. They're all like into you. It's just funny. But if you go on X, you would think all the chicks are all into each other, because apparently Yuri is like forced into it, even though it's not a component, like a main core component. But if you don't acknowledge that as the main canon, they then instantly lose it. It's like reality and fiction, or just actually acknowledging what a story is. They create their own headcanon, and then their headcanon has to be forced on you, and if you don't agree with them, then they attack you, which is, yeah.
Romance. But that's not something I would say because that sounds stupid. That's not the intention for the demographic that mainly consumes it. And even within shonen, they still get plenty of light to the supporting cast that happens to be female. Something that this article did praise Rio and Gachi Akuto for when she said, fuck the fair one, let's speed this up. And as Alex said, shout out to him, a regular in my live streams, she went G-Unit on that ass.
And me, I ride by and blow your brains out. It's no time to cock it.
But when they make it seem like there aren't other shonen that have women that can hold their own like this, one notably is Maki from JJK, just to name one easily from current day. It's like they recognize it as the story is glitching or something if the male protagonist is given more time than the female supporting cast, like implied here. Attack on Titan. Mikasa's attachment to Eren took away a big chunk of her character growth. Mikasa was a powerhouse in Attack on Titan until her obsession with Eren took over her entire arc. If good female characters are a myth for anime fans, Mikasa Ackerman is a mythbuster, or she could have been if it weren't for her butchered characterization. Damn that Eren for being the main character. It's not difficult to guess what weighed her down. Her dedication to Eren is an integral aspect of her story in Attack on Titan, which then takes over her entire character arc.
So?
All we needed was to see more of her and her conviction. Her weaknesses were understandable, but they should have been explored independently of Eren. Her entire arc shouldn't have been as reliant on him, and that would have helped a lot. It's like these people forgot the main point of a main character in a supporting cast. The story and plot is about the main lead and how the characters revolve around him. The whole point of Mikasa's obsession and love for Eren is the point that I won't spoil for the ending, but despite how strong and dominant of a character she is, it's like it's never enough for these journalists. Like I said, it's like they forgot the purpose of what shonen is for. Of course Eren is going to ultimately dominate the story, but it's like any semblance of a male lead they see as an inherent flaw within it. These journalists even criticize anime and manga for targeting distinct demographics, as there's something wrong with that. Anime marketing.
And that's where it comes down to. It highlights the very fundamental issue, is that they just hate men. They don't want things made for men. They want everything to be made for them, but they themselves will not consume it. That's the whole point that I've been pointing out, is that they're invading a male-dominated space and saying it shouldn't exist. It's like all these content creators that do video essays complain about isekais, and it's like, oh, well, all these isekais are bad because of this, this, and this, and let me make a litmus test, and this is what you should do in an isekai, and you shouldn't have these problematic elements in it. And then the next video they make a month later is, oh, all isekais are boring and bland because they don't add anything interesting. It's like, okay, well, what interesting things would you add? And they never give an answer. This is the thing. You're doomed if you do, you're doomed if you don't. As soon as you remove all these problematic elements, then it's boring and bland. You add in these spicy aspects that add flair to the story, it's suddenly problematic. These content creators aren't fans, they're activists. Bit of a tandem. But
strategies with a heavy-handed insistence on trying to target one gender over another are misinterpreting how anime fans relate to their favorite media. For example, even as popular as Solo Leveling is, fans criticize the anime's hyper-masculinity.
When? The only people that would be doing that are people that don't even like the show. At that point, it's not made for you. Shut up and go back to your hole.
And journalists really hate Solo Leveling, mainly because of how popular it is and how it embodies what I've said earlier, a guy aspiring to be.
And that's the thing, the reason why people resonate with Solo Leveling is because it's about a scrawny guy that's a nobody, he's a loser, no one really cares about him, he's just someone in a corner, he's a nobody, which is generally most people that like anime are just nobodies. They're just, that shrivel up nerdy little guy. And then they become something more. They aspire for more. They work out. They eat healthy. They build themselves up. And that angers feminists. It's a fire truck and an ambulance. So, losing my train of thought, but that's the thing. Like, they hate the idea of self-improvements. And now it's going again. Jesus Christ. It is really hot weather now. We're getting all these fire warnings, so I didn't think we'd get fire trucks this soon. But yeah, we're entering into the hotter season for Australia, so there'll be a lot of spot fires around the place that they'll be chasing.
More than what he currently is, becoming the hero, stoicism being displayed in every aspect, and masculinity, which they view as like voodoo or something, where they'll try to tear it down any chance they get. They even compared it to Freerun in this article, trying to degrade it in any way they can. Solo Leveling doesn't stand a chance after Freerun Season 2 finally starts.
Why are they comparing the two? This is why I hate activists within the anime community. I hate them because they don't actually like anything. They turn everything into some weird pitting things. It reminds me of the isekai communities when they always pit each other against each other and they always whine. And it's just like, we should be comrades, not fighting amongst each other, because this is what the activists do. So I get so frustrated at parts of like the ReZero community, because there are some of them in there that just have this like weird thing of like ReZero is the only thing that should exist, and they attack every other isekai, and it's like other isekais do it as well. But it's so frustrating. It's like Free Run and Solo Leveling are two very different stories, which are both phenomenally great. I like Solo Leveling. It's good junk food. It's like that male power fantasy, that self-improvement, that building up, that sort of leveling. Solo Leveling. But it's designed specifically for a specific audience with a specific goal in mind. Free Run is designed with a specific thing in mind, with a specific audience. They're not meant to be compared. You're comparing like apples and oranges, chalk and cheese. They're very different.
And in this whole article, they spend the whole time shitting on Solo Leveling in comparison to Free Run, rather than being centered around a grand adventure or a single.
I remember when it was a couple of years ago, there was like an Anime News Network article, and they were trying to use another series to beat down another series, and it was just like so toxic to the point where even the author came out and was like, hey, I actually like this other series that you're using. Can you not do that? Stop trying to sort of like use my story and my work as a way to beat down another story that I have a lot of love and respect for. But they wouldn't do it. And I remember criticizing them for it. And then a political activist content creator made a video on me on Christmas Day attacking me and Chibi Reviews about it, and had to lie in his own comment section and try and like slander me. And then he followed me, pinned his video to try and get as much attention, and when I just cooked his ass, he had a mental breakdown, got his friend to stalk me for several days, and then it was like 6 months later, he was on Chibi's Discord server, back when Chibi had a Discord server, basically looking for clout and attention, and I ended up having a conversation with him, somewhat private, public, on Chibi's Discord, and I found out that the dude doesn't know jack squat about anything. He's just a political activist that wants to be the next sort of blogger, writer on like a website. And it was just like, oh, so you don't really like any of the things that you're talking about. You're just a political activist pretending to be into the very things that you're talking about. And I'm like, and this is why I despise the content creator space right now. Because there are just too many people that don't like these things, and they're constantly pinning shows against each other. It's why I've just kind of like just almost snapped on this channel. I'm just like, that's it, I'm done. I'm just calling this stuff out now. Because these are the content creators that get all the money, they get all the fame, they get all the influence, and then they weaponize it and use it to attack the very thing that we love. And because they build on such hatred, they're the ones that get the attention. It needs to be called out, and the more people that call it out, the better. Because enough's enough.
Overpowered isekai hero, Free Run is a slow, quiet, introspective series that places its focus on character drama and philosophy. Free Run Season 2 will offer all the same greatness as Season 1, but with a new twist that's bound to completely humiliate Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling Season 3, if it ever comes out, will, by contrast, expose its entire series for the fraud it's always been.
What?
It's such a dumb, weird, like, oh, yo, when Season 3 comes out, you clearly don't like what the story is about, so why... Oh my god... Oh...
I mean, this journalist hatred for Solo Leveling just bleeds out in this entire article.
Because they hate men. They hate men. They hate strong male characters. They hate the idea of men being strong and independent and actually proud of themselves. These activists just hate men, and they hate anything that makes men feel good about themselves. So that it's this endless shame culture. This is why I just said what I said. I'm tired of these political activists, these content creators, these bloggers, these writers that just constantly despise men and despise everything about what is in the medium and trying to weaponize things that they themselves probably don't even like free run themselves, but they're just using it as a tool to try and beat other things down rather than elevating things and talking about all the positive aspects of what makes free run so bloody amazing. Rather than doing that, it's more about beating something else down, using it as a tool. There are two ways that you can go about talking about a show. Elevate it and talk about all the positive aspects, but what they're doing is using it as a hammer to just beat down something else that they apparently don't like. This is the problem. This is why I have such a problem with the content creator space that is more about beating down things that they just clearly... Sure, it's fine being critical of things, but the constructive nature of it is highly important. There's no constructive criticism here. This is just, I hate men. That's all it is I hate men. And the sad part is some of these articles are written by men that hate themselves. And that's the point about the culture. Men that have been programmed to hate themselves, and they are their own worst enemies. They are the enemies of men. It's like when Asmongold talks about America's greatest enemy is modern day Karens that are like suicidal empathy. It's like that is the issue with men within our own community, is men that just hate themselves and hate everything within there. And it's just like they're destroying the very thing that makes men men. It's just so goddamn frustrating. And then you've got content creators that feed into this and the male guy because it's the only thing that will get them views.
It's like they can only build free rent up by tearing down Solo Leveling. Now I believe free rent is a superior story, but
not pre-watched.
I would never compare it to Solo Leveling because the story that Solo Leveling is not intended to be like free rent. It's like,
thank you. Exactly! They're completely two different things. Two different fundamental things. You're trying to force, you're using free run as a hammer to beat something down. It's clear that you don't like the media. It's the exact same thing that I talked about when it came to those two isekais. An Anime News Network, rather than praising the show for what it was using it as a tool to beat another show down. And when you criticize them for it, Anime News Network gets their little simp army to attack any content creator that dares criticize their glorious thing. That is why no one takes them serious except when they make rage bait. Because these aren't anime fans, these are activists. Political activists that are trying to force stupid ideologies into things that are not needed. They're not anime fans, they are tourists.
Like the Michael Bay of anime, just straight up action. That's its selling point, and it's pretty clear on that. What I watch Solo Leveling for is not what I watch Freerun for. Solo Leveling is when I would just want to watch a stoic main character dominate and get shit done. While Freerun, I look forward to a slow-paced story and a journey that takes its time. It's like comparing heavy metal music to lo-fi music. Why would I?
Exactly. They're very different. They are designed for different audiences. They're designed for different feels. Music, a lot of the times for me, is depending on what I'm feeling at the day and the time. You know, you listen to very different music if you're in the gym or if you're working out compared to if maybe you're like running or if you're just doing some chill stuff. Like I listen to music. I got my little wireless ones here. My friend's dad gave them to me. And I use it for, you know, doing vacuuming, cooking, cleaning, and I listen to very different music when I'm doing that than if I'm doing some workouts, doing my push-ups. That's why I want the room clean up, so I can start doing my push-ups in this room more easily, because I've got to start practicing doing my fist push-ups, which I want to start on carpet and then work onto hard surfaces for my black belt when I go for it. But it's like, you know, different music for different things. It's the same with anime. It's, you know, different animes fit different moods, different audiences. It's just so frustrating.
I even do that. It's dishonest to even attempt that. But it highlights this journalist's disdain for Solo Leveling, especially when they discuss Chahan and how she's set up to be a love interest because, God forbid, again, a woman even be hinted at liking the main character. And this basically wraps up the point of this video. Can men at least have their interests of anime be delivered? Can a story like Solo Leveling exist where its main focus is action, an overpowered hero who gets shit done and is just cool as shit and makes no excuses about?
And that's the thing, these people aren't interested in the mediums. They're just trying to vandalize what we enjoy, force it to be something that it's not, and then go, well, now you have to like it. It goes back to my original point. They don't enjoy the things that we like, but they don't even enjoy the things that they're trying to force it to become. So they're just vandalists. And this is why I've gotten tired of it. This is why I'm calling these content creators out. This is why I'm calling these activists out. Because if we don't call it out, their voice becomes the louder voice. And that's why I always find it funny when people in my comments say, oh, just ignore it, just ignore it, just ignore it. No, you can't. We're past the point of ignoring it. We tried to ignore it, and it didn't go away. And now it's become such an annoying issue because they are seen as the loud majority, but they're not. They're just loud. So because they're loud, they're seen as the majority, but they're not the majority. They're just an obnoxious, really squeaky wheel. And it's time that we we call this stuff out. We boot them out of the anime community. Gatekeep. I know, apparently that word scares people. Gatekeep.
About it, along with any other similar shonen type stories, where if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Can the medium of anime and manga, or in Solo Leveling's case manhwa, cater to different tastes? Solo Leveling can exist in a realm or world that has a Frieren or Apothecary Diaries. Can shonen maintain serving a demographic as the way shoujo or josei or all the realms of the medium does? Men are going through a crisis because they're being conditioned to believe what they are and what they like must be eradicated, done away with, and be rid of. That having something that
we're getting programmed and told that we should be weak, that we should be submissive, that we should be allowed to be we should be trotted on, we should be used as an ATM, that we're worthless and all these things. And this is why I point out the cuck culture. It's fun, you know, to watch your odd NTR kind of thing and all that kind of stuff, but there is a lot of people in the anime community that are very much weak-minded and weak-willed, and yet they try to present themselves as this big, like, oh yeah, I'm an authority. I can't take those people serious. I generally just, every time I read a tweet from certain large Twitter accounts that try and puff their chest up, but they're such like into culture, I just smile at it and I go, yeah, no, I can't take you serious.
primarily serves their
And it's not like every guy has to be some buff big, but you need to be proud of who you are. Because the moment you're not proud of who you are, you allow people to trot on you, you allow people to use you, you allow people to manipulate you. It's not about everyone being some buff, super big, bulky guy, but it's about being proud of who we are, always looking for self-improvements in a multitude of different areas, not just physically, but also academically and all the rest, and about being better as a person. But that's the issue, is that's what's being beaten down and told, you can't do that. You can't become a better person. You have to be weak, trotted on, be an AT, like, it is programming men to become the very worst of worst types of things. And it has repercussions.
Interest is inherently evil somehow, but everybody else can have their own thing. I even saw a post reacting to a trailer of a rom-com anime soon to release about a guy who...
I'm actually starting to read the manga. I actually want to make a video on the other channel at some point talking about the manga, because apparently there's like 50 chapters out, so I'm going to actually read it all and give my overall thoughts and opinions, because it looks really cute and I like the concept of what it's trying to do.
Who's like a loser and beats this extremely hot girl, and they said shonen rom-com's obsession with pairing up an average loser with a tall pretty girl instead of...
Might I also add, it's really hard to make a guy look interesting without them looking wacky. It's like, you go from like a plain looking guy to like Yu-Gi-Oh! With their hair just like you can try and make some guys look interesting, but guys have a lot more limitations on what we can do to our own like character designs to make us look interesting without it making it not look like a clown. While chicks have so much flexibility in their designs, there's just not that. But at the end of the day, also, a lot of those male characters are designed to be sort of a self-insert for, again, exactly what they are. Quiet, nerdy, timid guys that fall in love with that quirky, beautiful girl. It's that male fantasy. That's what it's designed for. If you don't like that male self-insert fantasy, then you don't need to watch it. That's as simple as it goes. It's designed for a specific audience. But every time we see these types of shows, these crybabies, these tourists constantly whine about it. It's simple. Don't watch it.
Making both attractive needs to be studied, where to this user it's a mystery to her why
And it's not like he's unattractive either. He's not unattractive. He's just not like a stand-outish attractive looking guy. While she is stand-outish attractive.
this is appealing, while to me it's obvious. This is how most guys feel. This is the average guy's experience. Overlooked, forgotten, invisible to the average girl, making them insecure, nervous, socially anxious, to where this scenario of this anime plot is like a fantasy and some type of escapism. And already it's getting hate because the girl caters to the male gaze, which implies what men naturally find attractive. The feminine physique is somehow also evil, further contributing to the narrative that guys should not be allowed to have entertainment that caters to them, something that successfully has been implemented in the West, especially Hollywood. And that's why I ask, can men at least have anime? But that's all I had for this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. I already know there's going to be those who take this whole video and the point of it out of context, where I feel like
that's normal. That is very much normal. A lot of these types of videos always get taken out of context because, again, we're not allowed to have our own. We're not allowed to have our own spaces. We're not allowed to have our own hobbies. We're not allowed to have our own joys. And the thing I think for me is I just grew up realizing that I just need to stop caring about what these people think, because these people will never be happy with who you are. They'll never be happy with the mediums. They'll always find something to hate upon. And once you do that, you find the good people around you. Surround yourself with good people. It's a bit of a philosophical thing, and I do actually want to make some videos in the future talking more philosophical about these kinds of things and just kind of give my perspective on life, because, you know, I've been around the block for a while. I'm not super old, but I'm getting older, and I have my own personal life experiences and life lessons that I've taken from it, and that's why these types of shows are just fun. They're refreshing. They're a self-insert of that fantasy of, you know, a nerdy guy finding a cute girl that also has the same interests, and you build bonds, you get closer, and yeah.
like I'll have to do a follow-up to it or something, but the point being, every time men naturally gravitate towards something, it must always be infiltrated to be diluted, turned into something that's lesser what men like, and it seems to only go into that direction. Yeah. Men need stories like the one. You
don't see people doing it to other mediums like female-dominated areas or Yuri type stuff, because a lot of the people that were attacking this manga to be anime were Yuri fans. I saw like so many, and I just went through their accounts. I'm like, yep, Yuri. I used to have someone that used to be a very big Yuri person that used to follow me, and they ended up starting to wish harm on me because I dared criticize this kind of activism that was going on, and because I criticized the whole idea that, hey, you know, male should actually have their own, you know, we should be allowed to have our own things that we like. Oh no, everything has to be Yuri. And it just shows that these people aren't mentally sane. These people are completely wackos.
One's anime offer, because where else in mass can they find them? And I hope Japanese creators continue to see the value in it. Also, if you haven't checked out my music, links in the description. If you love those Samurai Champloo lo-fi mellow boom bap vibes,
I still love every time he says that,
then my music is definitely for you. And if you want to support me and the content I create, consider joining my channel. Becoming a member is much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Of course, another video from Monta Sensei. Hit the like. Consider subscribing to his content. He makes great content. I want him at 10k before the end of the year. He's getting close. So close. So close. So, yeah, I agree. It felt like I pre-watched it, so I was like, kind of funny. But, yeah, I think it's a solid video. I will be getting back into doing some more analysis content soon. I've just been taking a bit of a break, and because of my cat's bladder infection, everything, it's just kind of delayed everything. So I will get back to doing more analysis content. I have a lot of stuff that I want to do on that channel. I've got a whole roadmap planned for next year. I might show what the roadmap is, but it's flexible kind of thing. So very excited for next year, for 2026 anime lineup, and also just what I want to cover on the channel as well. I might do a community post on the other channel about all the animes that are coming out next year. Probably once we get all the episodic release dates, I'll make a community post going over all the episode release dates, and I will definitely go over what ones I'll be covering in some capacity. But next year I really want to like take the content in a better direction. Not change everything fundamentally, but just quality over quantity, and really hammer in some really interesting philosophical discussions. But also, I just want to make those videos more meatier, and that's the thing. For me, I'm the type of person that doesn't like making a video that's overly repetitive. Sometimes I do, and even then I kind of hate myself for doing it, but it's just about having interesting discussions. So again, check out Monta Sensei's videos. If you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.